There we go.
There we go. We made it.
We made it. Woo. Woo. Didn't think we were there for a little bit.
It was a little touch and go, but you sound great. Looks good. Everything's working the way it's supposed to. It's pretty exciting.
Now we just need it to keep working the way it's supposed to.
I know, right?
That's what we really need. Hey, folks out there, welcome. You guys are amazing. YouTube, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Let me get this out of the way real quick, Jeff. What you guys are about to watch out there is Jeff and I recording an audio podcast. This is the behind the scenes. We don't edit this video. So welcome to the show. We're talking about the 10th episode, at least our 10th episode of Crusade, called Ruling from the Tomb. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Also, a quick shout out and hello to the folks who are joining us live. That's our council chamber members. Hello to you guys. Please make sure to drop a comment down in the chat. Let us know that you are here. We'll give you guys a shout out. Also, we'll take your comments at the end of the show. Once we're done with the recording part for the audio thing. So those things are out of the way. There we go.
Well done. That was great.
Also, I don't tell me if I need to do this for the audio portion. Just a reminder, I'm still in a weird setup. So if things happen, they happen. I've tried to mitigate it, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, it worked out pretty good last time, I think, Jeff.
Yeah, it worked out good.
Yeah.
You've been sounding good on the audio, so I think
that's good.
It's good.
That's good. So, anyway,
ready to do this thing,
Jeff? I got to tell you. All right, I'm gonna preview Brent's experience with the episode, and you and I.
Okay.
We almost never talk about an episode before we come to this moment right here.
Correct.
We had about a half a dozen text exchanges last night about it, though.
We did.
And you and I think we're very, very much in the same place.
I think so, for the most part.
Did you watch this one twice?
Yes, I just watched it earlier today to take all my notes.
Entirely different experience for me watching it the second time around.
Really?
Yeah, because because of this new setup, I'm not able to take my notes while I'm doing my first watch.
Yeah.
So when I'm watching, it truly is me just watching. I'm not having to double track with all the stuff, which is the way I'd normally have been doing it. So the second watch, I really was watching for those messages and stuff, and kind of was able to relax because I knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to jump into the conversation surrounding this episode.
Okay.
So, with that, Jeff, let's do it, buddy.
Let's do it. Hopefully I have the right one queued up. Okay.
It's not Stargate this time.
So what is to be gained by fighting?
Maybe nothing. Maybe a lot. I'd like to be the one to make that decision.
I want you to know that this thing just made a very large dent in my ship.
The year is 2024.
The name of the podcast, Babylon 5.
For the first time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the first time, not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin.
And I'm Brent Allen. Jeff and I are two veteran Star Trek podcasters. Now we're veteran Babylon 5 podcasters, but we're total newbies to this Babylon 5 spinoff show called Crusade. We are loving diving through this thing for the first time, looking for those deep hidden messages that are found within it.
Watching Crusade, it's like doing the extra credit at the end of the class sort of a thing, and we're all about extra credit.
It's like you already aced the class, and now you're just going for more than 100% at this point, just because it's fun and you want to.
And I feel like we're both
you're
that.
a geek.
We're that person academically. So
absolutely,
yeah. Makes sense. We're doing this.
Yeah, if I've got a 98 in the class and I've got a chance to get 15% extra credit, I'm totally going for 113%.
Every time.
Absolutely. Right.
Every time. And let's see how we score this time as we do what we always do on these podcasts. We're going to look for those deep messages. We're going to see if this is holding up a mirror to society, or maybe possibly telling us that we could be better human beings. We do that by looking for what we call the sci-fi messages, not the Star Trek messages, because this is not a Star Trek podcast, which is why we play the Rule of Three, which is a game that limits us to no more than 3 references to Star Trek per episode.
That's it. 3. 1, 2, 3. No substitutions, exchanges, or refund.
And what happens if we make one of those references, Jeff?
We play everyone's favorite sound. Hey, Brent.
Hey, Jeff.
We have a 5-star review.
Oh, yes.
Got another one from Apple Podcasts. This one's from the UK. And Celu1, I think is how you pronounce this. It's really hard to pronounce these names. So I'll say Celu1 says.
Saluin.
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 Saluin is where Galen found Gideon on that one episode. It's in the
I'm sorry, Jeff. Have you ever had a drink called L81?
L81?
Ale, like beer, ale. 8, the number, and then the other number 1.
I have not.
If you ever get a chance, you should do it. We call it Old Kentucky Swamp Water. It is a soft drink. Like it's one of those like caffeine's like super high in it, but it's like a ginger soda, spiced ginger soda. It's pretty good. For a long time, you could only find it within the state of Kentucky. Pretty decent one, but their whole thing was it's L81 or a late one.
Oh,
you see? Yeah.
It's pretty tricky.
That has nothing to do with our friend here, Swellen. So tell us what Swellen says here.
I'll sell you one. I love how this one starts. I'm an old and very cranky sci-fi fan. I can't stand fandom, especially modern fandom. And part of why I avoided B5 at the time was because their fans were just insufferable.
Really?
So the thought of two people who were Star Trek fans enough to have done podcasts watching B5 through a Star Trek lens should push every alarm button I have. Yeah, here I am, all these episodes later. The guys are very American, and I say that as a lapsed American. And I have a drinking game where I chug a beer every time one of them says in a low voice, "So good."
So good. It's so good. I'm working this in as many times as I can now.
Right? It sounds like our drinking game now that we know. Wraps it up by saying, but they're fair-minded, thoughtful, and have interesting things to say. I'll be sorry when the journey ends, and I was not expecting to say that.
Well, Jeff, you know what I pull from this thing? You and I, we are fair-minded, we're thoughtful, and have interesting things to say.
Exactly. That's what's
I
important.
appreciate that. Swell1. Please write in and let us know how to pronounce your name properly. Like we would love to give us a pronunciation guide so we get that. I get the old and cranky sci-fi fan. I get the insufferable fan. Jeff, I gotta be honest. You and I have said so many times though, Babylon 5 is the best fandom we've ever been a part of.
Absolutely.
And I say that with all love and respect for all the other fandoms, but this has been, at least through our experience here and now, I can't say back then, but here and now, this has been a great fandom. And so I think your experience is spot on to what so many people have experienced, and frankly what Jeff and I really have experienced. Two Star Trek nerds who were nerds enough to do a podcast about it. Watching, superior, how superior are we as Star Trek people? Bringing ourselves down to watch this lowly thing and see if they do it the way that we say that they should do it because we have the corner and market on that. To just falling in love with the series and have developed this amazing community around us. And I think you are proof that the experiment that Jeff and I started with so long ago worked and is working. And I have good news for you. We're not close to the end of this journey.
Not at all.
At least not that we know, because we got Babylon 5 for the second time coming around, and who knows what's going on beyond that. So Lord willing.
We're barely halfway there.
I love it. Jeff,
Brent.
I'm so glad we brought back doing reviews.
Me too. It's so great.
I missed it. I know there's a time factor to it, but I really missed it. Anyway, with that, you know what else? You know what I am going to miss when it goes away?
Oh, I do know. It's going to be this game.
I'm going to miss the predictions. Because it's been of like the 3 things that we hear again and again from people that they love about this show. By far, the predictions were the number one thing I think we heard about.
We're going to see views and listens just plummet for the second time because they're like, yeah, there's no prediction. That's the whole reason I listened to this thing.
I hope not, because I tell you what, I think the second time is going to be even better all the way through. Anyway,
I think so too.
But we're not done yet.
Nope.
We're not done yet, because what happens is at the end of each episode, we get to it and we look ahead to see what the title of the next episode is. We haven't seen the episode before. We haven't read descriptions, looked at thumbnails, any of that kind of stuff, hearing it for the first time right here, right now, and making a prediction about what it possibly could be. Well, this is the spot of the show where we look back on that prediction from last week that was about this week's episode and see just how close we were. So, Jeff, what did you say Ruling from the Tomb was going to be about, and how close were you?
I thought this was going to be where they find a planet where the civilization's following an old set of strictures and rules, and very Star Trek original series where Gideon would come down and kirk everybody back to reality, and then they'd end up not getting what they looked for, take off, and hope everything went well for them. I was not even in the same galaxy for this one. What did you think?
Well, I said that basically this was going to be a riff on Stargate. We're going to find some like ancient building, ancient structure, and turns out it's actually going to be a tomb, and there's going to be some ancient being trapped in there who's been imprisoned, and basically it's the Gould from SG-1. Yeah, not at all. Not at all what this episode was about. Big fat donut for me.
I don't think
that actually sounds really good right now.
A donut does sound really good.
I don't need one.
I'll be right back. Well, I don't know that anyone could have guessed that we were going to get what we got out of this episode. And if you don't remember this one, have never seen it before or anything like that, Brent, why don't you refresh us? Tell us what Ruling from the Tomb was all about.
Well, it's a dry, dusty, random planet of the week. Lots of activity, comings and goings. Oh, wait a minute. This place actually looks familiar. This isn't some dusty, random planet of the week. It's Mars, Earth's nearest neighbor, which seems like a great place to bring together all of the uninfected, smart humans working on curing this plague, literally right next door to the infected folks. If only, Jeff, if only there was some better place that they could have met. A place that could have accommodated everybody. A place that all spacefarers could find, and it'd be a nice, good, safe distance away from Earth. I mean, I get it. Earth and Mars are still not that close, but still, like, I don't know. Maybe if, like, there's a space station out there, a crossroads of sorts that would have, stuff. But here we are on Mars. Anyway, Captain Lochley of the space station Babylon 5, which is totally big enough to handle all of that, is on temporary assignment to Mars to oversee the conference on the Drakh plague. She's having some trouble with the local PD. After all, they may be human, but Mars is independent now, and this is Earth Force, so they can stuff it. Cue Captain Matthew Gideon. He's brought the conference's keynote speaker, Dr. Chambers, and I guess he's there to sort of run support for Captain Lochley. Well, Gideon and Lochley lock horns a lot. It's cute. Lochley said she doesn't need him or his help because security is her middle name. Gideon says, well, he's going to tag along anyway, just in case her last name is Breach. While they're trying to one-up each other, there's some definite flirting happening. They even have dinner together in Lochley's quarters, and she appears to be wearing a silk nightie for some reason. They get around to talking about Captain John Sheridan. President John Sheridan. And Lochley's previous positioning in regards to John Sheridan. And finally, Jeff, in the best joke I've ever seen, the best moment I've ever seen really here on Babylon 5 in a purely 13-year-old way, we finally get a payoff to this weird random Sheridan-Lochley marriage thing from so long ago. Now, it's not like she's pining for her lost love, because honestly, there's a man right in front of her right now. Matt Gideon. And there's some definite chemistry here. Let's see if we come back to this or go backwards to a previous episode about this. Whatever. Now with that, while there's some definite chemistry, there's also a definite murder happening at the conference. His name is, or was, Henderson. He's a guy who has also had some religious training way back in the day, serving the Lord and whatnot before he left the service. And his body has been etched with the symbol of a doomsday cult. And cue the doomsday cult guy. He's a Frenchman, and that's not a slam on our French friends out there. No, it actually matters later in the episode. We'll come back to that in a few. His name is Andre, and he's hearing voices. Well, he's hearing one voice, and her name is Jeanne. She is the one telling him that God is demanding the killing of all these unfaithful people and pretty much everyone else. It is the end of humanity. And he has some pretty big bombs hidden underneath the conference center, ready to blow everyone up real good. And thereby, he'll end all hope for humanity and bring about humanity's doom. Fortunately, though, for our stalwart heroes of the episode, there happens to be a shuttle driver. His name is Trace. He's charming, personal, has a thing for Dorina, and has a whole thing between him and Eilerson trying to go for Dorina. It also just so randomly happens that he knows both Andre and Henderson, because you see, he was in seminary with them both way back in the day. And now, because of that, Trace has to die too. An attempt is made on his life by the Doomsday folks, but it's failed. And when Lochley and Gideon are showing up to check on him, everything starts to fall into place. Trace tells them about Andre and the Doomsday cult. Not that he's a bad guy, he just thinks he's doing God's will. That's when Gideon understands it all, and he leaps into action because he's got himself a plan. He interrupts Dr. Chambers' speech and lies his ass off. He says that they were wrong. Their estimation of 5 years? No way. Humanity doesn't have 5 years with this plague. They only have months. And they better get out and go make the amends because humanity has been tested and has been found wanting. And this is their punishment, he says to a listening Andre in the crowd. Well, that satisfies Jean and Andre. And they turn off the bomb with just 20 seconds left to go. Andre heads back to the bomb bunker and, well, they follow him. And it turns into a pew, pew, pew fifth act. And the whole cult dies. One guy even takes a direct shot to the back of the head with a PPG, which somebody would have told him to watch his back. But before he dies, Andre actually clarifies who Jean is. It's Jeanne d'Arc, or, for those of you who don't speak French, Joan of Arc. In case you're not familiar with history, she's basically the French version of Mulan, who claimed to audibly be able to hear God's voice as well. And she was executed as a psycho and a martyr. Well, this episode comes to a close with yet another promise of Gideon coming to B5 for shore leave and rekindling his whole thing with Lochley. And meanwhile, Dorina and Eilerson and Chambers all sit around the table at the bar and do Jeff's and Mai's job for us. Tell us what the messages of this episode were all about. Don't try speaking for God or for the universe. And when you do, you inevitably wind up becoming the thing which you obsessively hate. And that's why so much killing has happened over the years in the name of God. Jeff, what are your thoughts? What are your experiences with this episode, Ruling from the Tomb?
I'm really curious what your revised thoughts are, because these are mine. If it wasn't for Gideon and Lochley, who were freaking credible in this, I loved every second they were on screen together. But if it wasn't for them, this episode would be objectively hot, steaming garbage. This was horrible. It was so bad. They pulled every trope. I feel like it was trying to say, like, every single anti-religion message you could ever deliver, but only through tropes. Like, how am I going to deliver this thing with just, oh, I'm going to be a priest, and I would rather trust science than, oh my gosh, just every single line that was spoken in this. The relationships between didn't make sense. There was no cohesion to things that were happening. I had no idea, like, who this guy, like, this was garbage in every single way. And I will always love the episode, though, because of Gideon and Lochley. What did you think? I have so many more words, but I'm going to keep them at that.
So, Jeff, I wrote my opening thoughts down last night after watching this episode before rewatching the second one, and I have not gone back to revise my opening thoughts. So I'm going to leave my opening thoughts, and I'll have some different closing thoughts. But here's the thing. This was a completely pointless episode.
Yeah.
This felt every bit of a season 1 type episode. Those of you guys that are firing up your keyboards, chill. I got you, folks. Just stick with me, okay? This was my initial thought, my initial impression. It felt like every bit of a season 1 type episode. In a full 22 episode season, without having seen the rest of the show, anyone who's watching this for the first time would leave this episode basically thinking this is just a filler episode. It feels like it. The whole thing about the Doomsday Cult and the big reveal at the end about the dude hearing Joan of Arc's voice did absolutely nothing for me. I mean, it was clever. The idea that she used to hear voices and now he's hearing her voice. I can imagine as a writer, if I put myself in JMS's spot, as a writer, you've held that in your back pocket. Like, I'm going to use that someday. Like, that's a cool idea. And he brought it out here. Unfortunately, it was so far out of left field for this episode. And it was really just the background story for what was really happening in the episode. It wasn't what the episode was really all about. That to say, what really was happening in this episode, what this episode really was about, what saved this episode for me, as you said, Jeff, Gideon and Lochley. Fully agree with you. Gideon and Lochley, they were gold in this episode. I loved their banter. There were times, Jeff, when their banter touched on early Londo and Jakar type banter. You know what I mean? Like, it was so good. And I know you and I tend to say that we don't like it when stories force characters to hook up, but I got to tell you, I am completely on the Matthew Elizabeth train. I don't know what their ship name is. I don't know if we should give them one, but I'm on this train. I'm all for it. The dinner scene when Gideon asked Lochley if she's ever been under Sheridan and she chokes, Jeff, I lost it. I stopped it. I showed my wife. She has she has a bare minimum idea of these characters in the background to this. She cackled at that joke. It was so funny. So while this overall wasn't a good episode, it was still kind of a good episode to me. I'm still going to watch it again. It was very much that season 1 type filler episode though. Now, that being said, this episode is also chock full of messages that we're going to get into.
Yep.
And you and I have often said, even in Star Trek, the episodes with the best messages sometimes are not really good episodes. And the best episodes to watch don't really have any good messages in them. Those two things are very mutually independent of each other. So, Jeff, let's dive into this. Let's talk about this episode, the good, the bad, the ugly, because we're going to talk about those messages here come the end.
There were a lot of messages in this one, and I feel like a lot of it was centered around the death cult, right? Or the death cult, doomsday cult, whatever. But
can we acknowledge something about that though, Jeff?
Yeah.
And you tell me if this read to you, because I feel like I've done this before with Babylon 5 and it just sort of sticks out. And I find this a very interesting piece. You and I both know that JMS, we have not read his autobiography yet. That's coming. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think that's coming up right after we finish.
Yeah, very soon.
There's Crusade, the movies, and then the autobiography. Yep. We know that at some point in his life, he apparently was in a cult.
Mm-hmm.
He got out. So he has a religious background. He has religious training, but he is also an avowed atheist. Knowing that about him as a person and seeing the things that he writes about is fascinating.
Agreed.
This particular episode and the things that they're talking about with the Doomsday Cult and all of these pieces felt very much to me like a lot of JMS's own personal ideas of like kind of his own internal dialogue, I think, when he thinks of religion in many ways. It just kind of rings that way to me. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how it rings to me. I don't know about you.
I think some of it, I honestly, I hope not, because like I go back to my statement earlier that every statement they made about it was just a trope. I lost it. I think even on my reaction, like I paused and talked for, 48 minutes on how ridiculous it was when Elaine or whatever, Levesque was all, I pray to God that will something. And then Sarah Chambers is like, well, I would choose to believe in science instead of someone who would let this happen. That phrase that is spoken so often on television and sci-fi. How could God let this happen? It is, to me, it is the height of ignorant hubris. Like, that is someone who has no concept of anything outside of the pop culture myth of who God is. Like someone in the sky with marionette things making everything happen. That so minimizes our humanity when that trope is played, and the fact that it was the first shot fired in this whole thing from go, I was just like, oh my God, it's going to be one of these.
Can I play the other side of that though?
Okay.
The issue, Jeff, this is going to be one of those episodes where we dive into it. Okay, here, let's own it, guys. If you guys have been with us for any amount of time, Jeff is a very active practicing Catholic. Mm-hmm. I'm not Catholic, but I do have some faith religion background, and I'm probably going to jump into my story here a little bit later on because it tracks with one of these characters very, very similarly.
Oh, wow.
But I am also a person of faith. The problem of pain. C.S. Lewis had a whole book about it. The problem of pain. If there is a God, and typically when you say that, we're talking about the Christian God. We want to acknowledge that there are many faiths out there, but typically we're talking about the Christian God. If there is a Christian God, if there is a God out there that claims to be good and to be loving, how could a God like that let so many bad things happen on earth? And that is one of the number one, and still is one of the number one questions and one of the number one stumbling blocks to faith that society at large has. And I don't know about you and your experience, but from my experience with the church has done a really bad job of answering that question. Or
absolutely.
At least marketing the answer to that question, because it continues to arise. So I can see why. I understand your frustration with it. And I really want you to dive in, if you deem it right, to what you mean by well, no, I take that back. When you say that it, I'm sorry, I want to word this the right way. Hold on.
Okay.
We have done a bad job at answering that question. And by
Agreed.
we, I mean the church at large. That said, I completely understand your frustration, because it is this, when you boil this very sensitive and actually very nuanced topic, and there's so many things to it, when you boil it down to just a trite phrase of, well, I'd rather believe in this than this thing over here, it does not do that conversation, because that is a conversation that is worth having and worth diving into. And it does not do that kind of, it short circuits what really should be a great conversation, in a very interesting conversation between people who are either seeking or not seeking, or people that are struggling with faith, or just straight out don't believe in it, and they need answers. And I agree with you. That sort of a question tends to or that sort of comment tends to short circuit those conversations.
I think especially when, as a Catholic, and I own this very often when I talk about it, there's the church and then there's reality, right? And often the two are quite separate. And so when I talk about the church, I'm talking about the ideals and the teachings, not necessarily the execution. We'll talk about actually that with the teachings, I think, later on when we talk about some other parts of this episode. But science, in many ways, exists in its form now because of the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. Like, so many of the, what I'll call foundational theories and ideas that we have, that we've based our understanding of the universe and other things on, were Catholics that discovered a Big Bang theory, right? Which so many people hold up as, well, this is, God couldn't have created the universe because there was the Big Bang. Yeah, it was a Catholic, like a monk who first discovered that and postulated it. the two things, and we talked about this a while ago, they are not mutually exclusive, right? Science and religion. But the argument against religion has created that, well, you can't have both. And I don't know. I felt like it was just a huge shortcut in writing to be like, well, I think that. Come on. I felt that the line itself was insulting. And more so, like I was saying earlier, I feel that belief is an insult to our humanity. For the most part, regardless of your faith, we were created with free will, right? That's one of the many things that separate us from the quote unquote animals that are out there. Free will and an opposable thumb. That's what we got. If God's up there controlling good things and bad things that happen, how does our free will work in? How do those do? I mean, bad things happen because we don't always show up the best way, or we try things that we don't know, or we mess up, or we just try to hurt other people sometimes. It's not, and also, like, I'll tie it to sci-fi. They answered this question really well in The Matrix. When Agent Smith starts saying, we tried a version of The Matrix that was a utopia, where there was no conflict and everything was great, and you rebelled against it. You rejected it because your humanity couldn't handle that. Like, and Kirk talks about this frequently as well, where like we need conflict to grow, to change, to develop, to be what we're supposed to be, to sort of boil it all down to, well, God.
What you're boiling it down to is Kirk was actually a shadow.
Ooh, yeah, because he needed conflict and fighting. I'm going to pause here real quick.
Yeah. Welcome to the live recording, folks. This is how we go. As you can tell, Jeff is very passionate about this particular topic, and yeah. You know, it's always amazing to me. I think it certainly has happened to me when something touches you on a personal way, it can color everything about it for you.
We got kids staying the night tonight, so hopefully probably won't be, but hopefully it's the last time that happens.
There you go.
Where were we?
You were talking about
yeah.
what I'll call the problem of pain, and it's short circuits. You sounded like you had come to the end on that particular.
I'd made my point on that, I think.
Well, Jeff, let's put a pin in that conversation and come back to it. I'm not sure that this podcast is the place to litigate that conversation. I don't mean to short circuit it, just like I said we were trying to do, but that is a big conversation. And I do want to talk about what at least the episode was saying. Whether or not we agree with it, we can have that conversation as well. But I do want to talk later about what that episode was saying. But okay, look, we started this actually talking about Gideon and Lochley.
Oh, you're going to jump there already? I wanted to hit some of the ugly stuff before we got to the good stuff.
Oh, okay. Then let's do that. Ugly stuff, Eilerson.
Oh my God. Literally, so I had a comment in my opening thoughts, just in my notes on it, where I said there's a lot of this that was so bad, it was actually kind of fun. And sadly, a lot of it included Eilerson.
You know, I think on my reaction video, I did something very similar. I was like, this is so bad, but I'm having so much fun with it. It's so cringy, but I'm in. I love it. I think I had that same kind of a reaction to a lot of it.
It was so, but they're walking through the mean streets of Mars, him and Dorina.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry, did that not look like they just went to the storage unit of whatever lot they were on and pulled out the old set from Total Recall?
Oh my gosh, yes.
It did, didn't it?
Just waited for some guy to come up and be like, man, I got 5 kids to feed.
3 of them. But it's I got 5 kids to feed. But it's like they just didn't light it as well and put as much smoke around. But it was the same set, it looked like.
Totally did. It was, but it was so frustrating because Eilerson's literally like, yeah, so I mean, I totally grew up in a country club, but like I was totally a rebel the whole time. Like I came here, right? I was in my reaction video. I'm like, you know what I used to do, Doreen? I used to come down here and I would drink Merlot. Like I got so just in the gutter. I would just drink it for days. That Merlot is so good.
It was out of a box.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was awful. But I loved that he got totally worked over. He's like,
sure
one time I came here and they stole my wallet. And she's like, you mean like just happened?
Like that.
Rube?
But did you know that he got pickpocketed as soon as that happened?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And she's just staring at him like,
Yeah.
you know.
But then, and you mentioned this in one of our back and forths, one of the worst choreographed fight scenes I have
it was awful.
ever seen.
Awful.
Like, this is on audio, you're going to miss this, so I'll describe it afterwards. But this is my impression of Dorina in that fight.
To describe that, hold on. Let me describe this for our audio folks. Jeff is currently sitting with his arms spread wide and his mouth open like he's, whoa, Jeff, what was that? What was that? Like the mouth came open really big and something came shooting out of the mouth. What was that? That was an episode of something we did together.
Was it?
Yeah. Was it it was like a horror episode of Babylon 5. Like they tried to turn it into something and it was like, ugh! Oh my gosh, what was that?
Was that Grey 17?
Maybe.
The monster in that, maybe? I'm just thinking
Maybe.
the xenomorph and Alien.
No, it was something you and I did together, and we made so much fun of it because it looked so awful.
Well, this also looked awful.
No, wasn't it the episode? No, it was the movie, the one with Wells. Or the episode with Wells. Right?
Oh,
like with the little thing that went around and like, anyway, it doesn't matter. It does not matter right here at all. It just doesn't. But yeah.
Yeah, she comes out just screwing. Ah!
Yeah.
So bad. So bad.
Yeah.
But
Jeff,
the
I
whole
think
scene.
you should clip yourself for that and use that as the thumbnail.
That's the thumbnail
for the
right there.
episode. Yeah.
See if I get that. But I mean, literally, like the minute he goes up and he's like, "Hey, you got my wallet," and they're all standing there cracking their knuckles. Like, oh my God. Oh
yeah.
And then that followed. I'm just gonna go on the Ireland train. That followed immediately by him walking into the bar and biting off more than he can chew with a bunch of biker looking dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the next scene to be him being best friends with them.
Yeah, because that's how dudes work.
True.
We will get into a drag out fight and as soon as it's done, we'll go have a beer together and be friends.
But yes, but would you include Max Eilerson in that description of dudes?
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, he
That's
rebelled
100%
by
fair.
drinking Merlot out of a box. That was his big rebellion. I like Merlot. Like, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah. Yeah. Eilerson is the guy that you're going to beat up and then not feel bad about it later on.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know? But hey, okay. Can we please talk about him and Trace and Dorina and this? It's not even a love triangle because you have to have people actually like liking each other in that. It's just, they're both going after the same girl. And she's like, I'm not interested in either of you. And neither of them take a hint
At all.
at all.
At all.
Yeah. Like all the way back in the shuttle on the way down, which by the way, in the shuttle on the way down, Dorina sitting right in between the pilot and co-pilot chairs, awkward as all get out.
Yeah.
Great for the camera, but awkward to look at it in like real life.
Until she starts going and like literally mommy dearesting them. And
Oh
like,
my God. That was awful. That was awful. Oh, that was such a better way to handle that.
I'm going to say this, noting the last time I said this, I insulted the great Stephen First and Veer, but whoever directed this episode should have their head cut off and placed on a pike high in the air where I can look at it and wave like this.
It was not the best directing. It really, it's almost like this guy was just out of time and he's like, okay, print it, whatever happens, I don't care. Just run it, do something. Hey, Dorina lady, whatever your actor's name is, just grab them both by the ear and say your line and let's print that. That'll be good.
That'll be enough. We're out of time.
Yeah.
Did you catch what Eilerson said to Dorina before he and Trey started their drinking contest?
Pray tell.
They're talking about getting drunk and passing out on the bar. And he says, well, at least you're equipped with flotation devices.
I get that now.
Yeah. Wow.
I remember that line, but I yeah, you know.
I kind of couldn't believe it.
That makes sense on a planet that has no water.
No, there's that. Yeah, totally. It's just... What did you think of the dancing scene with him, with Eilerson and Dorina?
Okay, so here's the thing. That dancing scene, there's a clip of it in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Now, in the opening credits, I have to tell you, I've secretly held out hope that Eilerson's going to become cool. He's going to become suave. There's something about him that we just don't see, that we don't know yet, and where he's going to grow into it. Because you and I, we can hate on a character, but we know he can grow. Like we don't give up hope. And so I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, we're going to come to it. What I didn't know from watching the opening credits was, no, he was drunk the whole time. And he was not suave and was not debonair and he was not okay. Why Dorina was even there dancing with him that long in the first place, I don't understand. But dude was getting beat up in the alley out back. And she just, the hairs on the back of her neck stood up. Her threat ganglia went up or something and was like, where's Trace? Trace, there's a disturbance in the force.
My spidey sense is tingling.
Right. And she's like, let's go find him.
I loved their dance. I loved it.
It was great.
Yeah.
The dance, like I said, to watch it, to see the clip of it without context, looks fantastic.
In context, so dumb.
Right.
Just
but well executed.
Yeah. Great dancers.
You know, so here's what happened with that. You know, I figured it out. They took all the money that they would normally spend on their fight choreography and gave it to the dance choreographer.
That's fair. Totally fair.
They just were out of money for the fight guy.
And this is what we ended up with. Want to bounce back and talk about some Gideon and Lochley?
Well, the dumbest line I heard Eilerson say.
Okay.
Now, maybe you've ever heard this used. Trace says real early in the episode, I kind of feel like a yo-yo here. Or, you know, talking about going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. A yo-yo. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. And Eiler's like, it's a phrase to use for an idiot or somebody who's being dumb. And I'm like, I've never used the term yo-yo to describe somebody being an idiot. That dude's a yo-yo. Like
I haven't, because I didn't live in the 1950s. I think that it was I think that's an old,
maybe, I don't know. That was like, now, to be fair, this show is set well into the future and maybe it becomes a phrase like that, but it's nothing I'm familiar with. I was like, I just didn't, I thought that was dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, let's go on to the actual thing that's worth talking about. Gideon and Lochley.
Yeah. Like from go immediately. I'm just like, there's so much chemistry. Like they start talking to each other and the lights are brighter. The voices are more clear. Like literally everything is immediately better.
Well, even the first interaction, she's not even looking at him.
Exactly.
Like, excuse me. I hate to interrupt. Then don't. It's like, damn.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So my first two notes here are so this is the episode that Gideon and Lochley meet. And then I ask this question, Jeff. Why in the world does JMS's order, which by the way, you and I are following JMS's own order, at least one of them. Apparently he has more than one. But why is it in his own order this episode comes after last week's episode? Because I understand he wanted to group the gray uniformed things together because it makes more sense as far as that goes. Because I guess we're going back to the black uniforms, and yeah, I like the black uniforms too. But today they weren't even in the black ones; these were like just the navy blue dresses or jumpsuits, whatever it was. It wasn't even the gray ones. Like it made no difference on a uniform level. Why there was no reason to put this episode prior to last week's episode.
There was no reason to put this episode in the series. Also,
22 episodes in a season, man. They got to fill them up somehow.
Right? You got to fill them.
Got to fill them up somehow.
I feel like both episodes with them were like, here's my introduction to Captain Lochley and Captain Gideon.
Yeah.
There's zero connective tissue. They both start in the same place where like one's a little out of sorts and the other one, because Lochley's all worked up because of Lieutenant Carr.
Yeah.
And then she was in the life in med bay or whatever in the other one. And they both end the same with, so meet up on Babylon 5 then?
Yeah.
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 Everything in the middle is what.
And you and I were told going into this that the order is all sorts of screwy because there's episodes where people meet and then they meet again later.
Yeah, exactly.
Here it is right here. This was what they're talking about. Anyway, I digress. By the way, if anybody out there is pulling your hair out at the order that Jeff and I are using, blame JMS.
Yeah.
It's his. Just write him. You can write J. Michael Straczynski at babylon5first@gmail.com, and we will forward that to him and make sure he gets it.
We'll take it to him the next time we time travel to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved some of the lines, though, and he's like, well, it's because I'm ruggedly handsome. Well, you're a control freak. Well, can't I be both?
That was a great line.
It was.
Can I be both?
Later on, she bags on him for his game. She's like, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this dude is smooth. Maybe that
Really,
it says
Jeff?
more about me.
Really, Jeff? Did you hear her next line after that? Like, are you just this bad? Do you not have that much experience with it? Is that really Jeff's telling on himself right now, folks? That's what he's doing.
Right here. Here's Jeff's real story. But even Matheson is calling him on it.
Yeah.
Rumors are going around. We're all talking.
Uh-huh. Because you know what? When two people have that kind of chemistry, everyone can see it.
Yeah, it's so obvious.
Everyone sees it. And you're like,
But it all comes together in that dinner scene.
Oh my gosh. That dinner scene was the greatest.
I think I have more notes.
I'm going to tell you what, that was a better dinner scene. That was a better dinner scene than we ever saw Sheridan and Delenn have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Ever. And I liked their dinner scenes. That was better. Weren't you under him?
I know.
She's full on chokes. They first said that, and my 13-year-old little brain went, that's what. Oh, is she laughing at that too? Did she have that? Would they put that in here? Did they put that? They put that in here. Yes, that's exactly what she's choking at. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Totally. He even had to clarify, at Babylon 5.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but then she doubles down on it. She goes, yeah, he actually preferred it that way.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
She had the little quips too, and before they connected, or she gives it all away, and Gideon's like, yeah, he's my hero. It's so great. And then, he probably puts his pants on one leg at a time, and she's like, yeah, backwards in the dark sometimes too.
Oh my gosh. And then it gets a little cheesy. I'm going to say the writing on this piece was not great. He's like, oh, what? You mean some guy bagged you and he was dumb enough to let you get away? Which there's a little, he was dumb enough to let you get away like that. I'll give you credit on that one, but oh my gosh, he's probably the dumbest man in the whole wide world. Oh yeah. He's real dumb. Oh, what's he got his name? Of course. You just track every side of this of exactly where it's going.
I think I literally said, as he was doing that, I'm like, there better be a spit take. Boom, there's a spit take. Paint by numbers, but perfect. Yeah. So perfect.
Now, I want to throw a wrinkle into this whole thing for you.
Okay.
I want you to imagine the exact same lines, the exact same script. Gary Cole, but instead of Tracy Scoggins as Captain Elizabeth Lochley, it's Claudia Christian as Susan Ivanova. And it's Ivanova and Gideon. Think of the lines. Think of how she delivers lines like this. This is nothing against Tracy Scoggins. But you and I got 4 seasons of Ivanova. You and I got 4 seasons of Claudia doing this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Saying these kinds of lines. The way she would go after... her and Garibaldi were just friends in that early season. I get it. But she could stand toe to toe with him and just go. The way she would do stuff with Marcus and how she'd go back and forth with Marcus, you put her on this with Gideon and let that be her. And as much as you and I are loving Gideon and Lochley, I think this ratchets up to a whole nother level if it was Ivanova.
Yeah, if the actors have the same chemistry, Absolutely. But I mean,
I think they do.
I'm just imagining her, you know, the little things of like, well, he preferred it that way. You know, just the way she'd get it underneath, you know, a little bit, her intonation and stuff. Also, I think if it were Ivanova, he would leave with 2 black eyes.
Yes, but only after they actually hooked up. Because I'm pretty sure that's going to be some Klingon bedroom stuff there with her.
I was going to say Jadzia and Worf. On that, I had a question for you. Like,
yeah,
how do you think that date ended?
Oh, I think they totally hooked up.
Yeah,
I do. I think
100%.
they totally hooked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way he was like, well, thanks. Can I help you with the dishes? No. Okay. Well, I guess I'll see you
All
at
right,
work tomorrow.
Have a good night. Stands there awkwardly waiting for her to be like, as soon as she said dinner in my quarters, it
done.
was on.
She took, so there's when she called that, and then early on where I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I understand what role she plays in this, where he's like, is that a opinion or is that a fact? And she's like, oh, that is a fact. Like, yes, ma'am. And then here where he's like, what do you say, my quarters? She's like, my quarters, 1800. Boom, she's gone. She's calling the shots in there.
Yeah.
And I think Matt is all, even the one that she's like,
for
Matthew,
it. He loves
Matt.
it.
Oh yeah. Matthew, Matt.
It.
Oh, Matt's fine. Elizabeth, Liz, Elizabeth. Like,
100% though, this relationship continues. She becomes Lizzie to him.
yeah, absolutely.
It's not Liz. She'll become Lizzie.
God, this is another one of the things that, like, because this stupid series got stupid canceled, we're never.
See, and there's the thing. This episode, you said it, and I'll say it again, would be 100% worth the filler just to introduce Lochley and Gideon and start them on whatever this is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, and here's the thing, because like project this out over 5 seasons. This isn't going to go the way that Sheridan and Delenn went.
No.
Where it's just going to be this slow burn, slow climb, and just straight into love and into marriage and saving the galaxy and flying off together and then watching the sun come up because of your love. It's not going to be that. No. This is going to be a relationship where they're fighting and they're arguing and they're making up and they are toe to toe the whole time. And we'll love it every bit of the way.
He shows up on Babylon 5. She shows up on Excalibur, and all operations are like they destroy every ecosystem they walk into. They're just that big of a force.
Yeah.
But you said it in the recap of the episode, and you couldn't say it better. This just about made that whole marriage shtick in the 5th season worthwhile.
Yeah, this is actually the second time you and I have looked at something that happened with Lochley and have gone, you know what? If that happened for this one moment right here, totally worth it. And I'm good with it. We first said it with Lochley with the whole thing about, we actually justified her entire presence in the show when she was able to go to Garibaldi and talk to him in his addiction.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Justified her whole presence. The whole thing about her and Sheridan that they, by the way, never ever mentioned again. And thank God they didn't, because it was dumb. And I will maintain it was dumb. It was stupid. But you know what? At least they did something with it.
Exactly.
And here it is.
And it was great here.
Yes.
It was great
yes.
here.
Yes. It's still dumb there. But it's great here.
So shifting gears a little bit to the Death Squad stuff.
Yeah.
They made a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal out of it being called Sacred Omega. Like there are people serving on Earth Force ships that are members of Sacred Omega. Like it's a whole thing. And all I could think was, is Sacred Omega Crusade's version of Home Guard? Like we're going to mention them this time and then never again. Also, it might have ended when Lebec or Elaine or Andre or whatever his name was.
My impression is that what happened down there in the bomb squad area, or in the bomb area where they're shooting everybody, by the way, shooting PPGs around the bombs,
right?
Right? Oh my gosh. Could you stop shooting the bombs? I don't know what movie that's from, but I remember that.
They're right there.
But somebody in the comments section, please let me know, what movie is that from? Stop shooting the bombs. It was the bad guy who was saying, like, trying to get him to stop.
I remember. I think I might have watched it recently too. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I just don't remember. Anyway, my impression, my takeaway from that scene was the Doomsday Cult is done.
I think so too. Yeah, that was my last note. Was like, was this guy the head of Sacred Omega, or was Joan of Arc the head of it through him? And
okay, can we talk about what the hell that was?
Well, before we talk about that, I want to talk about that fight scene with the PPG stuff and everything that was going on there. There's two things that we can't not mention. One, the timer on the bomb.
666.
My God. Come on. Like,
so
it's not,
that's so, like, really
not even trying. Oh my God. But the worst, holy crap. So, this might not have been the PPG fight, but it was when Dorina saves Trace. Yeah. Lieutenant Carr, who that lady's got an axe to grind with somebody. She is not a happy person. But she rolls up behind dude. She's got her PPG pointed, and she's like, I'll give you to the count of 3 to let go. 1, 2, bang! Just right in the back of the head. Yeah.
Dude, point blank range to the back of the head. That's like some Kowalski level, like shear the back of your head off type stuff,
right?
Man.
Right into the gate. Just whoosh.
Whoosh. Yep.
Oh my God. And then she had like,
I love that I can make that reference with you and you know what I mean now. If you guys don't know, go check out our Stargate for the First Time show. You'll get it.
But no, it was, and then she has the audacity when Lochley's like, so what happened? We need to talk to him. Well, you got to have a Ouija board. Wow.
That was kind of funny. I ain't gonna lie. That was
funny, but I just couldn't believe she didn't even wait to get to 3. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Can we also just talk about this? All right. So track with me the order of events.
Okay.
Dude sets the bomb to go off. 666 starts a countdown. It's going down about 1 number per second. Okay. 666 seconds, Jeff, is just a hair over 11 minutes.
Not long at all.
That's it. 11 minutes. He's freaking out because he's like, I'm scared to die. I know it's good and just and martyrdom and blah, 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 but I'm still scared to die. And she's like, I was scared to die too. Whatever. Somewhere far away at a bar or whatever, here's Trace, who's all like, just got beat up, and Gideon and Lochley like rush to him or something. Gideon's back at the thing, whatever. And they're having a conversation with him. And all of a sudden they realize exactly what's going on. And, it's this Andre guy. And, who's he? What's he look like? We don't know, but we know him. And listen, he's not a bad guy. He's really a good dude. He just thinks he's doing the Lord's will and whatever. And as long as he, kind of thinks that everything's going to be fine. And then Gideon hatches this plan, rushes the stage and says this lie. And then dude and he stops it with just 20 seconds left. All of that took place in less than 11 minutes.
Very efficient.
I don't buy that.
It was on Mars.
I don't buy that.
It was on Mars. Time is a little different. It's like metric time.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got to do the math a little differently there. You're just
multiply it by 2.2 and
you're taking your Earth ideals and forcing them onto Mars with that comment.
Marzica.
What did you think of Gideon's plan though to like shut dude down?
The most unbelievable thing I had about that entire plan? When he said, we were wrong, it's not 5 years, it's a couple of months, nobody freaked out. There was no panic. There was no murmur. It's just people were like, oh, okay. Well, you guys should all go home and then he starts bad-mouthing. Humanity has been judged and been found wanting. And I'm like, okay, Q, settle down, dude. You know what I mean?
That's 3.
Is that 3? Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Sorry if I stole them all from you. But he I do like it when, and we've talked about this. We've seen Sinclair do it. We've seen Sheridan do it. We've seen Gideon do it on other episodes. Have we ever seen Lochley do it? Maybe not. But I love when they come up with an answer to ninja the whole situation. But the point was, from a writing standpoint, they had to get dude to believe that everybody was going to die anyway and that judgment was upon him, so he didn't have to exact the judgment. He could just let them go.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way that I believe that they're going to be like, okay, well, just let them go. It's fine. We don't have to kill them. It's like, okay, then we can kill them anyway.
It's a mercy now to kill them.
Yeah. Like, which is what they were thinking it was anyway. That's part of the Doomsday piece, right? Like, you know, on some weird, sick, twisted level. So, and then, like, what's he do? Does he come back after that and be like, psych, actually, we got 5 years, guys. Go back to freaking out about that? Like, and was this televised back on Earth?
Right. They hand waved that at the end where Lochley was like, yeah, once we got people off the ceilings screaming about what you did, everything was fine. I'm like, how? I mean,
off the ceiling, they were just chilling, eating bubblegum in their chair listening to him.
No, it's everybody, we were just joking. We were actually going after a terrorist. Oh, right. Sure. I'm going to believe the government who's telling me this thing right now.
We just saved your lives by freaking you out for a moment, but we had to make it believable. So,
although I was thinking the real reason for him doing that, specifically interrupting Chambers to do it, was just to save that crowd from her acting and speaking.
Oh, well. You know, they gave her something to do in this episode.
And it was not good.
Yeah.
I really like how you complete each other's sentences.
No, they finish each other's sandwiches, Jeff. It's their sandwiches. It's their sandwiches.
Oh, man. It wouldn't matter what you put.
I don't know when the last time was I put a good Disney reference in here, Jeff, but there it is.
That was a good one. But it's just, oh my gosh. Yeah, I won't say anything more about her. It's just bad. But yeah, let's talk about Joan of Arc.
Okay, here's the thing. When I first heard it, I was like, okay, it's a character off screen.
Yeah.
No, clearly it's not a character off screen. Okay, he's got a communication device and this is somebody from somewhere else. No, he's actually hearing a voice.
Yeah.
Okay, so what the hell was this? Was this dude just schizophrenic? Or was he really hearing the disembodied voice of Joan of Arc? What do you think?
I think that this was one of the messages of the show, that trauma response can lead to extremism and fundamentalism. When something bad happens to you, because Trace was talking about some stuff that I forget exactly because it was Trace talking. I wasn't paying that much attention.
Yeah.
But something happened to dude, and so he constructed this defense mechanism. That's what trauma does. How do I exist, in reality? Mm-hmm. And his happened to be Joan of Arc. But I think that the meaning behind all of this was untreated trauma. Like, that's why we have people who are extremists and are utilizing religion as part of the package of this is why religion is used to justify horrible, horrible things.
Or it's why people think that their King Arthur returned from Avalon.
For real. Right? Oh my God, yes. Unresolved trauma, and he doesn't have the voice in his head. He's just doing it.
Look, this would have been so much easier if Dorina would have just showed up and let the dude give him a sword.
Yeah, problem solved.
We would have all been fine. We could go home.
But no,
couldn't let him give him the sword because she didn't need an escort. Yeah, So you say this is just something he's hearing in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's schizophrenic. I mean, I think he truly believed he was hearing it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and I may not be using the term schizophrenic right. And I know that that's a real issue out there, and I don't mean to use it as a punching bag, as a punchline or belittle anybody who might actually be doing that. I just don't know a better word to say it. Like, he's hearing stuff that's not there. My understanding, that's what schizophrenia is.
That's fair.
So,
but I think at the very end, there was a really cool thing that Chambers brought on board to say that would have been neat to go down. But she's like, hey, all this stuff he wrote in his journal are things that Joan of Arc
actually said. Yeah.
Which is neat, but was that stuff in her writings? It would have been cool if he was saying things that wasn't publicly known, where it's like, how did he know? How would he have possibly, maybe she really was there. But instead it was just, oh, it's the stuff she said. Okay, move on to the next thing.
And I think that whole line was really just to kind of give maybe he really was hearing Joan of Arc's voice. disembodied from somewhere.
I wish.
He was copying her journals.
That's what I
He's a well-read man.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it. He's
Yeah.
he's in seminary. He's studying.
Especially as a seminarian. Absolutely. And he's studying old stuff like that. Yeah, he has access to those books.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're teasing it. We're getting close to it. So I think it's time, Brent. We talk about the messages in this one. And much like last week, where the whole episode was the message, this one just had a bunch of garbage wrapped around it that we've now talked through. Why don't you talk about some of the messages that were in this one?
Well, I think this episode ultimately comes down to the idea of people having a crisis of faith and how do they manage that. Chambers talks about believing in science rather than believing in a God who lets bad things happen. Gideon later on just says he's not thinking about it at all. Trace is running away from what was once for him a calling. And Henderson, who we really didn't even know at all, is another person who had some dealings with it and went on. And whatever the heck happened to Andre that made him go crazy, I don't really know. But you have those pieces there. So there was a lot of people talking about faith, and we kept coming back to faith. I think even Lochley had a few words to say, because she asked him, like, well, you haven't weighed in on this one, Captain Gideon. And that's when he basically declined to answer. He's like, well, ask me in 5 years and we'll see if we get through this plague or not. And that'll tell you.
5 years and 1 day. I like that.
But then we get the scene with, it was Eilerson, Chambers, Dorina. Was Trace there? I don't remember if Trace was there or not. Trace was there?
Yeah, because he and Dorina got up to dance at the end.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And he's got like the Band-Aid on his. Anyway, but they're sitting there, and basically this whole conversation sounded like about 6 lines of non-dialogue phrases or sentences that was put together in a sort of haphazard way that the actors made sound like an actual conversation. All right, because here's where we go. Eilerson says, one man's lunatic is another man's saint or a martyr. T.S. Eliot said saints and martyrs rule from the tomb. That's an interesting concept to analyze, that whole idea of, both saints and martyrs, it's really not until they die that we really give credence to the things that they did and said. Right?
Well, technically you can be neither until you're dead.
Right. So we jump from that to immediately Chambers says, well, we end up translating those orders to suit ourselves. Jeff, we're talking a lot about religion and faith in this particular episode. I believe that this is also a reflection, I would say modern day, but honestly, I think this has probably been the history of humanity, of the way politics are as well.
Yeah.
Not just here in America. And from what I understand, it's like this around the world. All right. But certainly I think we're seeing it here in America. All right. You have people who claim the name of insert God, whether it's Christ or God or Allah or Buddha. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever met an angry Buddhist.
Or at least or an extreme one. Oh my God. You know what I want to do right now? I'm going to start a Buddhist extremist group.
The angry Buddha. That sounds like a beer.
We will extremely do no harm.
But but insert name of God here, right? And in the name of this God, we're going to take this book. Oh, we saw it even in Babylon 5 with the book of Jakar and the book of Jaquan.
Absolutely.
And how people would take that and twist it to mean something that it didn't actually mean. And we used it to suit ourselves, right? And we use it to give ourselves marching orders. Dorina pipes up and she's like, well, on my planet, it's a great evil to presume to speak for the universe. Or as we learned last week, the universe is God, according to JMS. I'm not, Jeff, it occurs to me, I'm not so sure JMS actually wrote this episode. I think we're so used to JMS writing every episode, we're assuming he wrote all these episodes. I don't know that he wrote all these episodes.
I hope he did not.
But even if he didn't, he's still giving the treatment and the outline for what the episode should be about. So it's still him in many ways. But still, it is a great evil to presume to speak for God, which we could chew on that for a little bit if we wanted to. But then Eilerson says it, and he names it by name, which is why I go back to the Christian side. He says, Christ came to tell us to love one another, and we've spent 2,200 years killing each other over how it is said. And then basically, and this is my paraphrase, when you become obsessed with the enemy, you become the enemy. Again, these are phrases, these are lines that really don't have much connective tissue. I really want to give credit and kudos to the actors who are sitting around that table because they made it sound like an actual conversation.
They did.
Okay. But to go through those lines are the messages. We should not presume to speak for God or the universe. He can speak for himself. Okay. Like we don't need to do that. But really there is a concept. One man's lunatic is another man's saint or another man's martyr. To you and me, this person is an absolute crazy person. Okay. We see that. Listen, let's go to America. All right. State of the union as it is right now. We just came out of a presidential election, right? Half the country looks at it. Let me back up. Here's something I don't think either side realized about the other. And I still don't think either side realizes about the other. Both sides of the presidential election of the two main party candidates truly and personally felt that the other side was an existential threat to democracy, to America, to the Constitution, and to them personally. Whether they're right about that or not, whether that's a legitimate feeling, I can tell you the people who voted for candidate A truly felt candidate B was an existential threat. The people who voted for candidate B truly feel candidate A is an existential threat. Right? To these people, this guy's a lunatic. But to these people over here, this guy's actually he's the saint. He's the savior. And that's how they really feel about it. When we talk about holding up a mirror to society, Jeff, we're seeing it right here. I understand that this is happening in France and Italy and Venezuela right now and other countries. Like this is not just an American problem. I'm just putting that. I want to make that clear because I know. And you and I can also only speak from our personal viewpoint and experience. So we have that. I think Chambers' point, we take what people say, we take scripture and we twist it and turn it to suit our own needs, to suit our own selves. You, Jeff, as a Catholic, have seen that happen within your own church over the last 2,000 years.
Many
can
times.
Name those times.
The thing that stood out for me on this one, I even wrote it in my notes though, was what Gideon said. They think this is Noah's flood all over again. That story, Brent, ended with a rainbow.
Yeah.
What did that rainbow symbolize?
That we'd never flood the earth again.
Mm-hmm. So what I took out of that was fanatics, extremists, people that utilize cafeteria style pieces of scripture to justify their works. Like that's what they're doing. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a Christian. I'm not looking at the Quran or the Bible or whatever. I took this one line and then decided that I needed to genocide entire people for it. I'm sure we've said this before, but I'm sure there's a religion out there. I can't think of it. The ones that are out there that are widely practiced all tell you to just be cool to each other and love. I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but Eilerson's line about Christ coming here to tell us to love one another and then that's everything.
It's brilliant. It was brilliant.
And
it's true. It's so true. That's the thing.
True.
It's so true.
What it made me think, though, is you and I have spoken many times on theological nuances between various lines of Protestantism and Catholicism. But you know what? None of it matters. It's just different ways, different hows of loving one another. That's all it comes down to. And so, like, just the fact we've got a name, a stamp on our denomination is creating that, well, I know how to do that.
Jeff, go back 200 years, 300 years, 550 years, 30 years. Okay, maybe more than 30 years. How do you have a Catholic and a Protestant sitting side by side, arm in arm, amazingly great friends, in a great partnership, being able to rationally discuss and mostly be on the same page about most things?
Yeah, would not
When
happen.
would that have happened?
Well, it couldn't have, Brent, because you're going to go to hell. So how can I possibly talk to you? You're already a damned soul. I mean, shouldn't I be here trying to save you? I mean, of course, but no. Why would I do that?
Yeah. So, Jeff, I got one more thing. And I think this gets to the heart of the whole piece. Eilerson said that. Of all people, Eilerson said this one too. And again, this is me paraphrasing. I didn't write down the exact quote. But basically, he said, when you become obsessed with the enemy, you become the enemy. Let me talk about George Lucas. I didn't like what the movie studios were doing, so I went and made my own movie studio. And guess what? Now I'm a movie studio doing the things that those guys do. But there is a thing happening in religion as it translates to the real world when they're the enemy. Mm-hmm. That you and I talk about this us versus them thing all the time. You know, they're the enemy, and you go after them, and then turns out because you obsess about that thing, you actually become the evil one. I got to tell you, in our own country, we have seen a particular political party demonize, villainize, and create an enemy of people right here of our fellow citizens. And it has united a segment of the population because they now have a common enemy. And it's not some foreign entity. No, it's the neighbor right here. Mm-hmm. And that's a sad thing. And I think there's a whole lot of people who would look at that and go, that actually makes you the enemy.
Right?
Because we were cool and you guys just decided we are suddenly the enemy. And now look at what you're doing. You know,
totally.
We're going to get some emails about this, Jeff.
Oh yeah.
It always happens.
It's great. I love every single, honestly, I love every single one. It's great.
We welcome them. And we're going to get people say, "Oh, leave that out of your show." Listen, the show brought it up. The show threw it in our face, folks. And we would be doing a disservice to the whole product of what this show is about, which is to discuss what the show is trying to say, if we just avoided it because we don't want to put politics in the show. The show brought it to us, guys.
No, Brent, you don't understand. We're just supposed to sit quietly and watch the show and enjoy it. We're not supposed to do anything else.
And make sure you enjoy it.
That's the important part. Absolutely.
Yes, make sure you enjoy it. Jeff, we're not ranking or rating these things anymore. We will rank it here. But this would be an episode that those messages did not jump out to me the first time I watched the show. It was really in watching it the second time that I kept picking up on oh, you're talking about God. Oh, you're talking about God. Oh, you're talking about God. I'm writing my recap. I'm doing my notes. And then this table conversation at the end. And how many times, and listen, even if JMS didn't write this episode, which it comes to me, I don't think he might've, but even if he didn't write this episode, how often have you and I watched a JMS episode that goes through, and then you get to the very end and they go, now here's what I'm trying to say. Here's the whole thing.
A JMS series where the second to last episode literally takes 7 minutes to say, and here's what we've been saying this whole time.
Here's what we've been saying the whole time. And it's a monologue by, frankly, the supreme being of the Babylon 5 universe, John Sheridan.
Almost a religious figure.
He did come back from the dead.
He did.
He did come back from the dead.
Came back from the dead just to tell us how to love one another.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of good messages, Jeff. Lots of stuff to chew on and lots of stuff to dive into that we could continue to just go round and round. But this would turn into a 3-hour show if we did. And that's a little bit out of scope of this side of the show. However, I would invite people out there, have these conversations. And if you'd like to send these conversations to us, Jeff, I'm not going to speak for you, but I will speak for me. Send them in. I would love to engage with you on a personal level with some of these questions and with some of these things that this show is thinking. Because as I said earlier to what Jeff was saying about all these tropes, these are conversations worth having that unfortunately oftentimes get short-circuited by little trite tropes that we saw. So with that, you can email us at babylon5first@gmail.com. That is a real email address. Jeff, those are the messages I got. You talked about some of them. If you got anything else you want to talk about, please do. But please, please, please put this in our 100% complete, definitive, and accurate ranking of Crusade. I don't even have it pulled up to tell you what the top 5 are, or bottom 5 or whatever.
Which is fine.
Just put it in there. Just tell us where it goes.
We'll do it. You don't need the top 5. Brent, this I was just reviewing the Memory of War, which was our current number 9, which tells you where I'm looking on this one. And Brent, this is going to be our number 10. This is going to the bottom of the stack.
Wow.
Gideon and Lochley were amazing. Not enough to
not enough to save
one.
the episode for you.
No.
Okay. All right. Brent might disagree with that, but I'm not doing the ranking this time.
I loved Galen, and I loved the message.
Jeff, I wouldn't be too far away from you. I really didn't like Memory.
Well, and I think also on the message when we were doing the ratings, or whatever, part of that was how, quote, Babylon 5 were they delivering the message. This was not Babylon. This was trope after trope after trope, and then they had to literally, like you said, just read these random lines and act like you're having some drinks around it so that people actually get something out of the episode.
Right.
It's a little bittersweet for me to say that we're wrapping up Ruling from the Tomb. There was some good stuff in it, but it's wrapped. We're moving on. And next week, we're watching Patterns of the Soul for the first time. Like Brent said, when we wrapped the game up from last week, we don't look at thumbnails, read synopsises, or watch trailers or anything.
Try that one again, Jeff.
Synopsises. It's
that's the Oxford Dictionary word. Go for it.
It is both a synopsis and synopses all together. Synopsises. We don't look at any of them is the point, but we like to guess what the episode's going to be about based on the title alone. So Brent, what do you think Patterns of the Soul is going to be about?
You know, Jeff, I feel like in many ways we are probably into the filler episodes, or what would have been the filler episodes of the season. This week's title came from a T.S. Eliot poem, Ruling from the Tomb. And obviously a clear reference to the Joan of Arc thing, to the idea of saints and martyrs rule from the tomb, right? They have influence over us, you know. From back then. I almost feel like this is going to be something similar. Like, it's not really going to be a direct, here's the episode title of what the episode is actually about, you know? Which is a very long way of saying, I don't have an idea. I don't have a clue what this episode could possibly be about. But we got patterns, we've got soul. I am going to say that this is a dive into what happens in a community when you have this idea of groupthink. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And people, people go from their individuality thing and they sort of homogenize into one, and it imprints itself on you as a person. Patterns of the soul. Or we're getting transporters and they're all locked in the pattern buffer, and this is how we keep them alive. It's one of the two. What do you got, Jeff?
Sounds like a 50-50 possibility on that one for you.
Right.
I think Patterns of the Soul, I think about the patterns of our lives that have developed our value systems, the things that we believe and we stick to. I think in this one, Gideon is going to be faced with a choice, and the entire Excalibur, the crew of the ship and everything will be on the line. But to make this choice, he's going to have to cross one of those values that he has that's from the pattern of his life and his family, the pattern of his soul.
Okay.
But we're going to find out right here next week. That's it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Rate us, subscribe, hit the like buttons, hit the stars, do all those things that are cool and absolutely everyone asks you to do. You know the drill. Please do it. It actually does make a difference. But the thing that we do like to ask that you do that truly makes a difference and really, frankly, is really rewarding to see happen, but please share this show with somebody who might love Crusade already, who needs to love Crusade, or you have no idea and maybe you just want to subject them to two dudes talking about a 25-year-old sci-fi show. Either way, share this bad boy. We really appreciate it. So until next time, as I wrap this up, we're going to get out of here and we'll see you
Jeff.
next. Oh, dang. I'm so yes, sir. Hey, what's up?
Rugged handsomeness?
Yeah, it's a code word. It's just part of the investigation.
For crying out loud. I completely forgot about the outdoor.
I literally was
didn't
this
even
close
read
to
it.
just going.
I didn't read it at all. I was like, I hear you going and like, then you're vamping. I'm like, what's he doing? Oh shoot. That's supposed to be me.
It's the thing.
Right. It's because here's the thing, like it was such a tight, like run in, like it was a run in, sit down, let's go.
Yeah.
You and I generally at least have a moment to look at it and talk about it prior to the show. And I didn't. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I actually wrote it in while we were going because I realized I didn't put it in when I did the notes.
Okay.
So.
Well, again, we didn't really have a chance to do that. Jeff, it is our time. Now listen, I know that you have children there and you have a guest. Are you okay to hang out with Club 65 or do you need to go? I'm going to stay either way and go through these comments.
Yeah, I'll stick around for a little bit.
Okay, cool. Because I don't want to short circuit it because my guess is, my feeling is our friends here with the council chambers have put some really thoughtful information in here, and I'm really eager to go through it because this episode, man, there was a lot in it to really chew on and discuss, and outside of the Doomsday Cult and outside of the Gideon and Lochley stuff, and it just sort of set it there at the end, and I think we can go through it. And I'm trying really hard not to turn it all political, but my God, it's just so right there.
It is. I think you did a good job though, like because this is the thing, and I think people have a hard time grasping this. Yes, it's political, but it's not political in that I support this and don't support that. It's like a meta-analysis of politics at this time where like it's so bad. Yeah. So bad.
But any study of history shows you that this is you could pluck this into any segment of history almost, and you'd have the same story. And here we are right now in our modern day still doing it.
Time. So we talk about the universe and God and all that, and way back and passing through Gethsemane, which last week I said we referenced. I'm referencing it here again. It's just a great episode. But Lanier talked about that. The Minbari faith believes that we are all just manifestations of the universe, and we're basically trying to figure it out. And I've given that so much thought over the last couple of years since we saw that, and it's why I think history repeats itself.
Yeah.
Is the universe is trying to figure things out, so it's like, okay, let's try it again. See how things go this.
See if they get it better.
Yeah. Wow, that went really bad this time.
Do you think with the universe when it looks at it, or God or whatever, is it like a 3 steps forward, 2 steps back kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like overall, we are actually making progress, but it's really slow and we keep falling back a lot. But still we're up and to the right. Like,
yeah, there is some progress happening with it.
I hope that's at least it. But I mean, my God, like the stuff we just keep going around, and and here's the thing. I know that there's a lot of people that are listening. We have a lot of friends who listen, politics being what they are, you can say what you want to say and be bravado if you want. There are people right now who are, and some people that are within our community right here, our community here,
Yeah.
who are legitimately scared about what the future holds.
Yeah.
Like they're scared for their own personal safety.
Justifiably.
Yeah.
Understandably, for good
Yeah.
reason, afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. And while I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong, and I'm not even saying that the two compare. Okay. Here's what I've also come to realize over the last week-ish, I guess,
Yeah.
is had the election gone the other way, people don't storm a Capitol if they're not scared for what could possibly happen.
True.
You know what I mean? If they're not upset and they truly look at, you know, okay, I'll just call it for it. The Trump supporters truly look at Kamala as will destroy the country. And is an existential threat to democracy and will become a dictator. Like so many of them truly looked at her and thought that. And they're like, thank God he won because now we don't have to do it. Like that's truly in their brain.
Yeah. Which speaks
And I
to
know
the
that there's a
bubbles.
lot of people who look at Trump and say, this man's going to be a dictator and
Yeah.
he's never going to leave office again. And now everything's about to get really, really, really bad.
Mm-hmm. It all speaks to the bubbles that we live in. Then there's like me, who's just like, both of these people are existential threats to our democracy and our lives. This is, we joke about the better of two evils or whatever, but like, I don't know, man. Last little while, I don't know that there's been a better. I mean, there has been.
And here's the crazy thing, Jeff. Here's the crazy thing. You and I are going to weather this okay.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
You and I will be okay getting to the other side of this.
Either way,
Yeah.
that sucks. That's not
Yeah.
okay.
We may have a little more money, we may have a little less money, but you know what? You're still going to live in your house unless you decide to move for whatever reason. You know, you're still going to get up and go to work. You're still going to you'll probably have your job.
I'll still go to the
daughter's
doctor and
Yeah.
my health care will be paid for. My daughter will still have an education and her health and stuff. Yeah. And I think like it'd be really easy for, I mean, I don't know. It's just, to me, that's so disgusting that there really is just a very specific group of which you and I are both members of that we're going to be fine. And that's not okay.
But you and I have so many people that we love and that we care about
Who are not going to
who are not.
And so
or we are absolutely wrong about that, and they're going to be just fine too in the end of 4 years.
which would be great.
Which I would love to be wrong about that.
Totally. But you know what?
I have a friend of mine who is gay, and he's a gay Jew. All right, so he has 2 knocks against him, and he lives in a neighborhood where hello.
That's really inappropriate timing for the Mac OS to get in there with that.
I don't know what caused that, but he legitimately, like, the night of the election and the next day, he works not for me, with me, I guess, down at the theater. And like I told him, I was like, dude, do you need to not go home because of his neighbors? He literally had a neighbor come over with a scrambler in his pocket to decode the Ring camera so that there wasn't a recording of his interaction with him. And you can still kind of see through the fuzz. It was a prelude to violence. Let me put it that way.
Really?
It was the typical Southern boy. You better get out of here before I call the Klan up here. We gonna come up here and we gonna see what your innards look like. Like it was that sort of legit 2024 thing happening. And I was like, dude, do you need to come home? And he's like, well, what about my dogs? Like, okay, do I need to go with you? I went home with him to at least make sure he got into his house okay.
Yeah.
And and thankfully he's been okay. And maybe that's an exaggerated fear and nothing's going to happen now. But he was also legitimately concerned if Trump would have lost, what would have happened and gone,
I love that though, because I don't love what happened to him, but I love your reaction to it. It's what I call the Peter Parker principle of privilege. Yeah, you and I are going to be okay. But what that means, Brent, is we have to be the ones who are available, who go out there, who take those risks and sacrifices to help the people. And I'll say that in the reality that we're in, and what happened in the election, but also in the potential reality that may have happened. if we don't do that, right, then we fall on the side of the Clark supporters that just were quiet and just let things keep going. We have a real responsibility in this new world.
And so with that, let me just say, I know a lot of our listeners out there are part of the LGBTQ community. A lot of you guys are trans. A lot of you guys are whatever you are. And even if you're not, I don't know that there's a lot that Jeff and I could physically do for you. But we do want you to know, Jeff, I'm speaking of you here. I'm speaking for you because I know you and I know your heart and I know you're with me in this. Jeff and I stand with you. We stand beside you. We stand behind you. And if there's anything that we can do, if you're having issues, I don't know what we could do, but at least know that we love you. We care about you.
Absolutely.
And, and you can always reach out to us and let us know what's going on. We would love, I think the best thing is we can know your story and we can tell your story is probably using the platform we're given, to be able to at least make stories. Just like I said, the story about my friend, I have another friend who was this, and here's the story of what happened. Here's this girl who is in a state that now has certain abortion laws. She had a miscarriage and she died in the parking lot.
God.
Hey, by the way, you know what I realized the other day, Jeff, and this is going to be true for you too. Within the next 4 years, both of our daughters will become biologically of childbearing age.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a sign, campaign sign down the street in my neighborhood. We walk by it all the time when we go to the park.
Yeah.
And it says, "Vote like your daughter's rights depend on it."
Because they do.
And my daughter asked, she's 9 at the time we're recording this, "What does that mean?" And I literally had to be like, and I'm not going to put this all on Donald Trump. I'm going to put it on that ideology as a whole. But I'm going to say Donald Trump. Thank you, Donald Trump, for forcing me to have this conversation with my innocent 9-year-old daughter. Thank you. That's great. Hey, guess what, sweetheart? You know you're amazing and you can do anything, and like your mom and I both will murder people to support you and be there. There are people who want to take all of that away from you.
Yeah.
And those are people who are in positions of power and can.
Yeah. And here's the thing. While their intention may be to stop this thing over here, which they see as an ultimate evil, the fallout and the results of that are girl had a pregnancy, wanted the baby, had a miscarriage, couldn't get medical care because of the laws that you had to do this here, and she bled out in the parking lot. And if you don't believe me that that's not happening, look at the stories. They're there.
Yeah, right.
They are there. It is happening. And it's just not okay. It's just not okay. All right. That said, Jeff, oh my God, this was not my intention to get into this conversation.
Well,
the show led us there, Jeff.
It's an important one to have, though. And I think
it is.
And I think I want to say that also, especially with I want to acknowledge what you said, that both ideologies felt so like existentially threatened by the ideology and the people, that I think it's incumbent on us in this platform to have this conversation and create a space where we can say it's like, we're not that it's going to be okay, but that we're here.
Yeah.
That we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, our friend Sarah here, who's watching, says there's a lot of stories like the one Brent's describing, and again, I say the best thing I think you and I can do, the most impactful thing, is to tell people stories and make sure that their story is not forgotten, or put out there. So, yeah. Let's hear. Yeah. I mean, even our folks here in the chat are kind of moving into that, and I'm glad to let them have that conversation. Couple highlights. Why don't we just hit a couple highlights here real quick, Jeff?
Yeah, real quick.
As we go through that. I'd like to end this on a high note, on a more pleasant note. Because, man, this got real heavy real quick, and I didn't think we'd get that heavy. I was not expecting that. Speaking of Sarah says, it's strange. I think this will be the first podcast in a while where I've not seen the reaction first to know if they liked it or not. Buckle in, Sarah, because the next one is going to be like that, too. We are recording... Jeff's getting ready to go on vacation, so we're kind of batching these up a little bit. Our next recording will be here in just a couple of days, and we're going to take a couple of weeks off.
I shared that.
So Jeff can enjoy.
On my reaction, I'm going off the grid for a while, so we have to make sure stuff's done and ready to rock for you.
Yeah, so that way we can keep rolling as far as that. So, yeah, and Ben's like, yep, I said the same thing, going in blind. I wonder what that's like for them, because I don't know that they've really... that we've had that. Yeah.
That's a cool. I didn't even consider going into this.
Nia confirms it. This is the first Crusade episode not written by JMS in our watch order so far.
Thank God.
So we have been right to say that this is a JMS written show, and this particular one wasn't JMS.
There's a good one here. You were saying, who said don't shoot the bombs? It was in Broken Arrow. John Travolta. Would you mind not shooting
the thermonuclear weapons? That's it. That's the one. That's a great movie. Broken Arrow. Christian Slater's in that movie too.
Travolta had two great ones. It had Broken Arrow and Face Off that were both. I loved both of those movies.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I like John Travolta movies, and I don't know if that's like a bad thing to say, but he's got a lot of really good movies.
He had one flub, Battleship Earth, which was his whole Scientology thing.
Yeah,
but outside of that, he's done pretty good. Dude, when he did Tracy Turnblad's mom in an updated version of Hairspray,
so well done.
Phenomenal.
Amazingly done.
Phenomenal in that role. And he handled it so well and so and that's a role that is designed for a man to play an overly large woman, and he did so good with it to that. So Peter David was the name of the guy who wrote this episode.
Peter David wrote Trouble with Tribbles. He wrote a number of the canon B5 novels. Yeah.
Trouble with Tribbles. Okay.
Yeah, he's a big deal in the B5 canon. Because he wrote Legions of Fire, and I think he might have written the Psychor trilogy as well, or one of the other trilogies that is considered canon. So, in a way, it's like, of course, he's the one writing this. That makes sense. And Ben put it best. Not Peter David's finest moment.
But enjoyed it as dumb fun. And that's the thing. I really, I was watching this episode. I was like, this is so dumb, but I love it. And maybe that's why. Because I loved the Tribbles episodes.
Right? Yeah.
That first Tribbles episode was dumb, but it was so good. They're throwing fur balls at dude's head.
Maybe this one was what it was because he had 4 days to write it. I don't know what their schedule was. And everything was chaotic and weird. And so it could have been like, sorry, dude, you got to throw this. Here's my ideas. Get it done.
Yep. Yeah, the tone is different to what we got in B5 and JMS writing. And that's cool. I'm glad to know because, JMS, for a guy who is an atheist who comes out of a religious background, has a lot of really neat things to say about religion.
Totally.
Yeah, and he really gets it, and he tends to treat it fairly respectfully. And so this was like there's also a piece where I sit back and I can go, if you're an atheist, these would be the arguments for why I'm an atheist. Are things like this,
But to your point, I think he's been so respectful. That was part of what I found so jarring in this.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Last one for me. In the review, Celu1 talked about the fandom, or we talked about this being the best fandom. Ben says, a visit to the Discord Red Sector may change your mind on us being the fandom. I kid, but
I don't know. I keep going through that. Let's see here. Any others? Yeah, Ben says there Crusade was a lower budget and a shorter shooting schedule. So that certainly could.
Yep. And Nia calling me out on it. Trouble Tribbles was David Gerald, not Peter David.
Gerald. There you go.
I was
going to say, it didn't sound right. But Peter David does sound like a familiar name in the Star Trek world.
Yeah. No, he
sound
wrote
like that.
something.
Yeah. I liked this one. Sarah says, I choked on my water when Jeff was essentially taking the shadow point of view and then Brent called him on it.
Yeah. well done.
So, all right.
Yeah, it looks like he has written a number of Star Trek books as well.
Okay.
So
There you
he's
go.
just a very prolific sci-fi author.
Yeah. I get more continuity flaws, JMS's orders. None of them are right. None of them are great, which is something we've seen.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to put these together in a cohesive way.
Yeah, yeah.
Scrolling through.
Yeah, just real quick. I think we're here. Here we go. Yeah. This is Sarah. I think Sarah's talking about Gideon's reaction, his plan. She didn't find the plan or the reaction super believable. Just sketchy and hand wavy. Yeah. Sarah, I'm with you on that. Like, you know, he's and the timing of it. 11 minutes, Jeff. 11 minutes? No. Like, you know, the more I think about it, the more it really bothers me. In the last episode, when Gideon's like, hey, we're going to ram that ship and force it to go into a jump point, and then we're going to fly behind it. And I really hope they all understand what I'm doing and they come through. Otherwise, we're going to leave them behind. And all of a sudden, Lochley's like, hey, I know what he's doing. Let's go join him. I'm like, no.
Although that makes more sense now. If that came after this, she knows Gideon very well now.
Yeah, but still, I just don't. Yeah. Ben says this for you, Jeff. Here, this will be my last one. He doesn't disagree with your ranking, but he had fun with the episode anyway.
Agreed.
I agree.
I'm with you.
I think that's very good.
I actually thought to myself today, I was doing dishes and I thought I might just actually like do a cut of this episode of just the Gideon Lochley stuff, and then it will be number one.
There you go. So I put out a tweet earlier to JMS asking him why this episode was set on Mars and not set on Babylon 5.
Yeah.
Because it should have been set on Babylon 5. Nia has put a Twitter link to something JMS said in here.
Oh, you can go check it out.
I cannot click the link though.
You have to copy and paste it.
I can't copy it. I can't but I would love to know. Nia, if you can let us know what that link goes to. It won't I can't click it, I can't copy it.
Yeah, I can't copy it.
At least from my side here. But I really am curious to know what that is. I don't see that he replied to that. Someone said basically his answer will probably be something to the effect of I don't know, go ask Peter David. He's the one who wrote it.
Nita's put up there. Peter David wrote that script, and TNT was trying to distance itself from B5 because they didn't know what to do with the show.
Interesting. All right, there we go.
TNT.
Right. You know, and I got to tell you, they must have done something where so they own the rights to the show, right?
Yeah.
And they've just told JMS, don't ever come talking about it. Don't ever come out. They're throwing it in the closet and they're locking the door and putting it in a box up on a shelf, and nobody's ever going to see it. Don't come asking for it. They must have done something where he cannot touch it.
We are almost 110 minutes into this recording. And so if you're here watching us, if you're still here, join our army. We will tell Warner Brothers, whatever, it is time
to tank the reboot.
Yeah, we don't need a reboot of B5. B5, brilliant and amazing.
Yeah.
Do Crusade.
Yeah.
Pick it up, dust it off, start over and do it right.
Yeah.
That's the story we need and deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make it.
And here's the thing. I understand that in the plan, they were actually supposed to wrap up the Plague storyline within the first year or two.
I heard that too, yeah.
And then there was going to be a twist and something was going to carry on for the next bunch of years. Okay, you can't do the Plague idea right now, JMS, but you have that other stuff you didn't talk about. You could potentially bring that back and just have new characters.
Yeah.
Call them new names.
Literally pop in with, hey, so the Plague has been cured? And here we go. There you go.
Yeah.
Give us what we deserve this.
Right. Anyway. All right, Jeff, let's get out of here. You guys are amazing. Club 65. Please make sure to drop 65 down in the comments below. If you guys have stayed all the way through, Whew.
Yeah, God bless you.
God bless you. If you guys
Or don't,
are, if you-
because
if-
he just lets bad things happen. So
well, you know,
let science bless you.
Jeff's not bitter.
No.
Sorry that this one got heavy, man. Like, I don't like going there with it, Jeff. I really would rather keep everything nice and fluffy, but when the show takes us there, the show takes us there, man. Like, it is what it is. So, Nia says, so there's still issues with that. Nia, we're going to have a conversation one time. I need to know what these issues are.
Well, and they don't matter. Everything in the world can be overcome. We shall overcome. We'll give them issues.
With that, we'll say goodnight for the night, folks. If you're at Council Chambers, hey, check your messages for the next recording, and we'd love to see you guys there. Peace out, guys.
Bye.